Diddy's former chef Jordan has submitted a letter for sentencing against Diddy. And back during Diddy's trial, Chef Jordan was supposed to testify, but the prosecution ended up cutting their witness list, so she didn't make it on the stand. But her story was brought up by former assistants who testified against Diddy during the trial. And she writes saying, "I was Sean's personal chef from the summer of 2007 through the spring of 2010. During my time, I can say that I was extremely overworked, underpaid, mentally abused, exploited, and at one point, I was assaulted by Sean Combs. Not only was I exploited by Sean Combs, I was also exploited by his HR staff. Throughout my time, they would constantly manipulate me into silence and staying in my position, saying that they would get help to ensure that I had days off. There was also a time frame in which they told me to spearhead the creation of Ciroc flavors. I was the one who chose, sampled, and tweaked the flavors throughout their creation, for which I was never compensated for. This was the most toxic and abusive workplace environment that I have ever been in my entire career. It was extremely traumatizing to relive all this. It was a hard thing to live through the first time around in my mid-20s. Now in my mid-40s, a lot of things that I was too young and naive to understand. Reality is, all of this is sedimented in my mind now. I have spent the past year and a half in a constant fight state or flight mode, and I'm currently trying to heal and repair all of the damage. There was also a time in which Sean Combs threatened my life to keep me silent about his abuse towards Cassie Ventura Fine. I have a journal from this time that I never read, until Cassie came out in November of 2023. It was like opening Pandora's box, reading what my 20-year-old self endured. I was there to witness the start of Sean Combs and Cassie's relationship. This has been an extremely traumatizing time in my life the past year and a half, having to unearth the past and relive it again. I never forgot what I experienced during that time there, but I for sure buried it in order to survive. I've spent the past 18 years building my career in a high-profile sector, and this case has destroyed the life that I worked so hard to create. You become personal staff to high-profile people, you become a part of a secret society. Discretion is the foundation. I didn't willingly participate in this case, but I recognize now this is what happens with collective silence. My silence gave Sean Combs the space and time to grow into a more violent criminal. When I started working with Sean Combs, he and Cassandra were in the grooming phase. That is what it was in my eyes. She was 19 and he was 36. There were lavish dinners, shopping sprees, etc., all in the guise of creating a new artist. Sean was working her down, like men with money do. I was there in Miami when their working relationship turned romantic. During that weekend, I saw Cassie Ventura provided with copious amount of substances. I encountered her extremely out of her mind, and I offered her food to help bring her down. I witnessed Sean cursing out his assistant, David James, for not bringing condoms on the yacht. I remember thinking it was crazy and gross. Like, why is he so concerned about condoms not being on the yacht? It's never that serious. It stuck in my mind because that's when I knew this was no longer a working relationship. I saw Sean abuse prescription meds, green, and E. Throughout those early months, it was heavy substance use. I saw him become extremely controlling, and I would say that there was an obsessive nature about them. He would go on substance binges and wouldn't let any of us sleep, let alone get any breaks. I was working 17 to 21 hours a day, 7 days a week. At one point, I worked for 2.5 to 3 months straight till I had my first day off. He screamed, cursed at me when he saw me having a casual conversation with Cassie. He said that I wasn't supposed to be talking to her if it wasn't about food. He also cursed me out when he saw me speaking to guests at one of his parties. He pulled me aside and said I wasn't supposed to be talking to his friends, that he didn't work for all of these years for me to come and steal his relationships. Sean Combs would curse me out if I fed people without his permission. He made me feel like I had to look at the floor and not make eye contact with guests. I'd say like a pimp does to his woman. During this time in November of 2007, while at the Miami estate, I witnessed Sean Combs get aggressive and borderline violent with the estate manager, Amanda. He was enraged by the fact that Amanda was allowing her house staff to eat. When Sean Combs questioned her about it, she lied, and she said she never told me to feed them. Amanda and I actually got into a disagreement about feeding the staff because I told her I wasn't being paid to do that. I actually called HR to get clarity. They informed me that I was supposed to feed them. One day, Sean Combs observed the groundkeepers making themselves a plate. Even though I said I shouldn't because he hadn't even eaten himself yet, Of course, they are making their plates. He comes downstairs. Once he sees this, he immediately starts screaming and cursing about who told them that they could eat. I stood there silent. I didn't want to get anyone in trouble, and I could tell that he was furious. Ultimately, Sean Combs told him that Amanda told me that I was supposed to feed them. Sean Combs called both Amanda and I into the kitchen, and he started screaming and cursing at Amanda, saying, "Why is she lying? Why is she telling me to feed her staff?" Ultimately, as he is screaming, he gets up and throws a water bottle across the room, saying, "I am the mother effing king. You are lying to my effing face right now." Amanda was saying that she told me to only provide leftovers to her staff, and I just told her to just tell him the truth once he threw the water bottle. I got up and called Daya in HR. I used a phone where he couldn't see me, and I asked Daya what I should do because I thought that he might have hit Amanda. I was instructed to get security to separate them, which I did, all while leaving the phone down on a ledge so Daya could hear everything. Amanda resigned not long after that incident. I believed it fractured their working relationship. Amanda and I never recovered. She blamed me for the incident. Soon after this trip, my hair started falling out and I was having anxiety attacks with heart palpitations. I asked HR if they could rush my benefits through because I needed to see a doctor. I was diagnosed with stress-induced alopecia and extreme anxiety attacks. I was prescribed Zoloft. Throughout this time, I was constantly calling the office, asking for help and begging for days off. When you work 17 to 21 hours a day, you never really rest because your body and mind are racing when you lie down by that time. You have to get up for the next day. HR kept stringing me along, saying that they would help me so I could have days off. I was so young and I just wanted to prove that I could do it, so I stayed, thinking at some point things would change, but they never did. April of 2008, at the Alpine, New Jersey estate, Sean Combs physically assaulted me. We got into a heated argument and I quit, which enraged him. He kept saying I couldn't effing quit on him as I was walking out the house. He was following me, screaming, cursing, and berating me. Once the door was open, Sean Combs pushed me out the door. I went flying into the air and ended on my elbows and butt. There was 2 steps to get into his house, so I fell pretty hard. I called the police, but I hung up. I called HR and told them I was going to sue him. Ultimately, HR told me that I would be blackballed and my career would be over if I sued him. They told me that Sean Combs had the power to blackball me and would end my career when it just started. I chose my career and I stayed quiet. I left for a few months but was asked to come back. I was assured that this would never happen again and that Sean Combs would apologize and that they would find help so I could get days off. HR said that they would look at budgets for a pay increase. At this time, I was only making $65,000 a year. I wasn't working after I left, so when they called, I went back. Sean apologized, but none of the other things ever happened. In 2008 or 2009, something that's blacked out happened. Genevieve called the office and I went to the kitchen phone to call 911. I was told to hang up and that they would send his private doctor over. I was told to leave and the incident was minimized. I told HR I knew what a OD was, but I left it alone. Sean Combs had had some of his prescriptions added to my prescription pickups a few times in Miami. Both of these incidents were examples of how I assumed rich people do things so the public doesn't find out their personal business, not understanding that some of this was illegal. In 2009 in LA, I was informed by Sean Combs' security, Roger Bonds, that Sean Combs brutally beat Cassie and that he thought that Sean Combs was going to unalive Cassie. I was shocked as Roger Bonds detailed the beating. He said that Sean Combs was punching her in the head and stomping her out inside of the car. At one point, Cassie ran from the car and was dragged by Sean Combs through the concrete back into the car. Genevieve, the assistant, was in the car and she was trying to break it up too. Bonds was concerned about Genevieve and said that she was hyperventilating. Bonds asked me to check on Genevieve. When I went to check on Jen, she acted like she didn't know what I was talking about. So I left it alone and went back to my post in the kitchen. Sean Combs came in screaming and cursing into the kitchen. "Chef, why are you in my effing business? What goes on in my relationship is my effing business. I will effing end you if you tell anyone." I took this as he would unalive me. "And you better not tell anyone either," which made me realize HR told him that I called them about the incident in Miami with Amanda. Up until that point, I didn't know that HR told him about me reporting the Miami incident. I believed that Sean Combs would unalive me if I told anyone that he was beating Cassie, so I remained quiet. A day or two later, his assistant Genevieve and I took a bag to Cassie at the London hotel. I saw bruises on her face and arms. We never discussed it. We acted like nothing happened. Over the course of my time working with Sean Combs, I saw hotel rooms being set up with lights, sheets, baby oil, Astroglide. I had always assumed it was some freaky things going on, but I never knew the extent. I dare ask either. I saw Sean Combs yell, scream, berate staff, artists, employees, and girlfriends. He was always mentally and physically abusive. I saw Cassie bruised on 2 other occasions in Miami and LA, but never questioned it. Sean Combs weaponized food, sleep, and breaks. We were not allowed breaks, and we often snuck food to eat. I would sneak food to feed the staff. I would get cursed out if I asked to go home for the day. I wasn't allowed to leave. I typed this, my heart breaks for my younger version of myself. I saw Sean Combs create a substance-fueled environment for artists, executives, and his girlfriends. I saw the aftermath of these freak-offs in New York, Jersey, Miami, LA, and the Hamptons. I believe that the heavy substance use was coercion in order for him to get his way with his participants. He was using these substances with Cassie on day 1 of their consumption. I'm not sure if you could ever be a willing participant under those circumstances. The substance use was far beyond recreational. Sean Combs was also having a relationship with somebody, which to me was an added layer of control. Someone in their innermost circle keeping tabs on her and also keeping secrets from her, weaponizing her most combative relationship. I'm not sure Cassie even knew about this betrayal. Over the years, I witnessed all of his assistants break down as they started abusing substances and alcohol in order to get through the workday. David started using substances. Javine, I'm not sure, but after 2009 beating in LA, she left not long after. I would binge drink when I was told I was off and smoke green to calm my nerves. My therapist would say I was self-medicating with the green. On March 20th of 2024, the feds showed up at my door in Atlanta, Georgia. I was terrified and I refused to speak with them without a lawyer present. I was then served with a grand jury subpoena before they left my home. By April 4th, Sean Combs knew that I was contacted by the feds, even though I hadn't testified yet. This terrified me. By April 11th, Sean Combs' lawyer, Aaron Dyer, left a voicemail stating that he knew I was contacted by law enforcement and that Sean Combs wanted to offer to cover my legal fees. I did not respond. I immediately called my lawyers. They instructed me to disregard it. They said that they would send out a cease and desist. April 15th, Aaron texted me about the voicemail and stated that they knew I was contacted and reiterated that Sean wanted to cover my legal fees. I was extremely terrified because how did Sean ever know that I was contacted? I didn't trust him or the government. I didn't know what was going on. I felt like my life was in danger. On April 17th or 18th, my Cadillac was broken into. My alarm system was tipped up and all my personal identifying paperwork in my glove compartment was taken out. They were all neatly placed on my passenger seat. All the contents in the middle console, which had a knife and jewelry, were also laid out. The only thing that was stolen was my dog bag. My dog is like my child. I took this as witness tampering and intimidation. I called the police and filed a police report. I stated that the feds were at my house 2 weeks prior and that I believed that this was intimidation because the person at the center of this case didn't want me talking. I don't have proof that it was Sean Combs doing, but I firmly believe it was him and that he was sending me a message letting me know how easy it is to touch me if he wanted to. By this time, I was being asked for months to be part of a documentary about Sean Combs, and I kept declining. I decided after Sean Combs made contact with me through his lawyers that I would do the documentary as a form of protection for myself in case anything else happened to me. I wanted it to be on the record that he assaulted me and that I knew of the 2009 brutal assault of Cassie Ventura Fine, which is detailed on page 14 of her lawsuit against Sean Combs. Sean Combs never denied that 2009 assault. He just threatened to end me, to keep me silent. I took that as he would off me. I accepted that he might have offed me for my participation in the documentary, and even now I believe that he could have me unalived. After the 2016 brutal beating of Cassie video was released, I realized that our collective silence only emboldened Sean Combs. He didn't get help. He didn't stop. He just got worse. Fact of the matter is, Sean Combs is an abusive maniac. He doesn't just physically, mentally, and financially abuse and exploit his girlfriends. He does it to his staff as well. He spent decades abusing almost everyone around him unchecked. So many of us have wanted to create our dream careers, and Sean Combs had us living in a nightmare. Reliving all of this has been extremely traumatic. Seeing him essentially get off of the most serious offenses is terrifying. This was a miscarriage of justice, in my opinion. For him to say now upon his release he wants to become a DV counselor is truly sick. Him and his legal team should be ashamed of themselves. This is a PR media tour his legal team is taking, and it just further proves how much Sean Combs believes himself to be above the law. And he has no remorse for the harm that he has caused to any of us. Cassie said he R-worded her. Mia said he R-worded her. I believe that he is a serial R-worder. We were both supposed to testify, but were ultimately removed at the last minute. Sean Combs likes to weaponize fatherhood, his children, and Kim Porter, when in reality, something. Where were his kids when he was being a menace to society all of these years? Sean Combs is a billionaire, not a street-level pimp. He used those substances to coerce women into becoming his own personal slaves. He used those recordings of those physical encounters to hold over their heads to keep them in check. He used his staff to get illegal substances to facilitate and cover up crimes. He kidnapped Capricorn Clark with a weapon. He was going to unalive Kid Cudi. These things really happened. It's sick how it's all been minimized. Nothing about what any of us endured was normal. The RICO was there the whole time. Sean Combs got away with it. And instead of being satisfied that he essentially got off, he chooses to let his ego keep driving him. Instead of being thankful, him and his team have decided to make a mockery out of all of his victims and the judicial system. It is for these reasons that I believe Sean Combs should get the maximum sentence available. I don't believe he can ever be rehabilitated. He is the master manipulator. I don't think that he should be allowed to live in New York City, New Jersey, LA, or Miami. He should have to relocate to the middle of nowhere, far away from the places that he preyed on and harmed so many people. Not only do I fear for my safety, I fear for all the witnesses that participated in this case. I know Sean Combs to be very dangerous and a spiteful man with a long memory and a panache for payback. Thank you for your time and consideration, Chef Jordan. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.